Australia has shown itself in recent years to be one of those countries most exposed to the effects of climate change. Today, its government has announced its response, its own contribution to the fight to curb those effects. A promise to cut the country's greenhouse gas emissions by up to 70% compared with 2005 levels, and to achieve that cut within 10 years. Thom Woodroofe is a Senior International Fellow at Australia's Smart Energy Council. What does he make of the announcement?
It's a step in the right direction, and it certainly shows that Australia is continuing on its journey of transitioning from being a fossil fuel reliant economy to hopefully an economy that is driven by both clean energy and green industrial exports. There's no beating around the bush that the target falls short of what a lot of us hoped for, particularly with respect to what would have been Australia's fair share with respect to the international effort in terms of what the science demands. But this is still a really significant step. It means that Australia, by the time we get to 2035, will need to be powered, for example, by 93% renewable energy across its national electricity grid. And getting to that point is obviously no small thing.
It's not a leap, this. It's a step, you described it as. Can it be reached?
It absolutely can. Australia, in fact, should be able to not just meet this target and meet the upper end of its target, which is a 70% reduction in emissions by 2035, but it should be able to beat it. Governments are obviously cautious. They're setting policies and goals based on the information and tools that they have at their disposal right now. But we know from this journey of the clean energy transformation around the world that this is an exponential curve. And certainly we believe, renewable energy doing the heavy lifting of this transition, that actually Australia should be able to get a reduction in the mid-70s at the very least by the time we get to 2035.
And how far would this go towards meeting the longer-term ambition for Australia to get to net zero by 2050? Would this get Australia that much closer?
It certainly puts Australia on the right track and gives us a credible pathway to get into net zero by 2050, as you say. The really big thing that it requires and is incumbent on us to do, though, in the next decade, if we are to get to net zero, is we need to take our transformation as being one around largely renewable energy domestically and our domestic sources of electricity. And actually, we need to be looking at the hard-to-abate sectors of our economy and also pivoting our economy to one that is driven by green industrial exports. Whilst our fossil fuel exports are not accounted for within our national target because those emissions, if you will, are exported into other jurisdictions, our ability to replace those sources of trade revenue on our balance sheet require us to be producing the green industrial commodities of tomorrow. Things like green ammonia, potentially green hydrogen, certainly green iron and green steel, where there's a huge potential in Australia. And this target continues to allow us to go on that journey.
I mean, there's still a long way globally to go, though, isn't there, in order for there to be any chance of meeting that international target of only global warming being limited to 1.5 degrees above pre-industrial averages?
Globally, we are absolutely on track across a huge and overwhelming number of jurisdictions to reach net zero emissions by 2050, including in Australia. You're absolutely right, though, to point to our ability to do that while staying within a temperature guardrail of 1.5 degrees, which was established by the Paris Agreement. And in fact, earlier in the week, Australia released a national climate risk assessment, which actually made the point that even in parts of Australia right now, we have already reached 1.5 degrees of warming. That's the real challenge, and that's actually why it's incumbent on governments to not just be putting forward what represents the maximum possible ambition. The Paris Agreement will require Australia to come back to the table along with every other country in 5 years, and we would certainly hope that in the next 5 years, we're able to see them go beyond this target.
And that was Thom Woodroofe, Senior International Fellow at Australia's Smart Energy Council. It's a forum for promoting and working in renewable energy on Australia's announcement today that it plans to cut its greenhouse gas emissions by up to 70% by 2035.